Rice business anchor, Boason Omofaye, joins us for more on this. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsday.
Thank you very much for having me on the show today.
Well, now the African Development Bank is set to disburse $540 million for the development of special agro-industrial processing zones in Nigeria. Yeah. Tell us more about this.
I think this was an initiative that was set up under the just towards the final period of the Buhari's administration. And we have to say thank you to the EFDB under Dr. Akinwumi Adesina. And this project will actually, with a few other international agencies, the figure is about $500 million. It's quite huge. So everybody's bringing money to the table. But the big news about this is that this is going to be, the special agro-processing zone will go across 22 states out of the 36 states. So that's what the program is all about. This disbursement shows that within a year or so of putting this program in place, the EFDB is ready to disburse to the first three state governments that have completed documentation. And this is good news. To the extent that we can move beyond agrarian farming, hand-to-mouth farming, agriculture, to the next level, which is agro-processing zones. This should have happened 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 years ago in Nigeria, considering the size of our arable lands. Nigeria has one of the world's largest uncultivated arable lands. Unfortunately, the criminal elements have snatched some of this away from us while we were busy binging on oil and whatever crude oil money can bring. Now the EFDB is helping us to help us set up special agro-processing zones. We need this like yesterday in Nigeria. In fact, we need it like 1,000 years ago, because food, as I said, often said, the first of human needs. If you don't have food, you can't think about clothing or housing. If you don't have food, you're dead. Mentally speaking, even if you're alive, you can't concentrate on any meaningful employment. So food goes into nutrition, it goes into mental energy, it helps our children and our kids remain mentally alert and knowing fully well that they have food in the refrigerator, they have it in the freezer, and they have it in the store. The fact that they can go to the store and they can buy food at cheap and affordable prices keep everybody's mind at peace. So the first issue around the first line of social living and keeping people in peace and making sure that everybody behave themselves is to ensure that there is food on the table. It's as basic as the humanity is. So it's not rocket science that these special agro-processing zones will therefore help us to do two things. We have, as of today, if we just focus on maintaining our production in agriculture, the wastages, what you call post-harvest wastages. If we plug that hole alone today in Nigeria, you will be surprised how much food will become cheaper in this country. Tomato, onions, watermelon.
Mr. Boason, sorry to interrupt you. It's
one
thing, to disburse the funds, but how are we sure that these funds will be well utilized? Okay,
so that takes us to the second level of this. It's not only the Nigerian government doing it, but the EFDB is putting a lot behind it. The other partners are also putting a lot of funds behind it. When you hear $40-something million is being disbursed, it's not as if the Oyo State governor will sign and they say, take your own share, and the other Cross River State governor, take your own share. It doesn't go to, the money is not disbursed that way by the EFDB. They've got to see the farm on the ground. They have to see the implements. So it's not just cash as a handout from the EFDB and other partners. It's to provide technical support and a few others. For example, you have the Africa Rice Center, which is one of the CIGR, I think about 13 of such research centers for rice all over the world, and one of these is in Côte d'Ivoire. The U.S. Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, was there just about a week ago to see the kind of seedlings and the kind of research rice that we can produce in Africa, in Côte d'Ivoire, and elsewhere. So we have the IITA in Ibadan, which is the Institute of International Tropical Agriculture, one of the ones that is still functioning, institutions functioning in Nigeria. Now, these institutes of research and whatever will also be part of this project. So it's not giving cash to the state government to go spend on whatever they like, but to ensure that the farmers, that we can do agro-processing. In other words, be the off-takers for those who are producing rice, for those who are producing maize, to those who are producing every other crops in Oyo State, for example. So, because day-to-day farmer, the ordinary farmers, our parents and grandparents, don't have the money to bring in this equipment to begin the processing of a food. And because there's no processing zones that are close to the farmers, the roads from the farm to the towns and the next villages are so bad, and the cities. I've been there. I was raised on a farm. So I understand what it is. But once you have processing zones close out to the farm, then they can take what these farmers are doing, right? Buy from them, pay them what is meaningful, and then put it into semi-finished products that can be used, that can be packaged, and you can then begin to distribute down the value chain to the end consumers. That is where we've seen that missing link. A lot of foods are produced in Nigeria. You go to Benue State during the mango season, you go to Kogi State during the cashew season, you'll be shocked how much is lost. But because there's nobody there who is taking all of this from the farmers and say, look, I have what it takes. I have the small factory, okay, or processing zone. Bring them to me. I'll buy baskets or bags of cashew nuts. I'm going to buy bags of tomato. I'm going to buy the watermelon. Look, we're still taking watermelon by road from northern part of Nigeria down to my 12 market in Lagos. By the time it gets here, more than half of it is spoiled because the truck breaks down on the highway. And it's all in this very hot, humid area we have. The same thing happens to tomato. So this is what this special fund is coming in to achieve, to help us build the middle, what you call the midstream. You know, in the oil sector, you have the upstream, the midstream, and the downstream sector. The problem with us is that between the upstream, where the food is on the farm, to the downstream where we consume, which is like your petrol station, the middle is where the problem is. We have that problem in oil and gas. We have that problem in agriculture. We have that problem in virtually everything in Nigeria, the value chain. So we all stand here, nobody's fixing the middle. So the EFDB and other partners are saying with the government, help us fix the mid-level. Some of these investments I would like to see in small, not just processing zones, but also in transportation that would help move. Okay, small, some little airstrips that can move agro products from Benue State, from Niger State, from Zamfara State, and can just fly them to Abuja, or can fly them to the next factory in Kogi State, or in Kwara, or in Ondo State, or elsewhere, or in Oyo State. You can move it from Oyo State just by small aircraft that will take about 30 minutes or less to Akure in Ondo State, for example, where you have the processing facility. We need to build this, and very quickly. So my advice, and I take that from what the minister said, state governors need to begin to collaborate.
Exactly. I was just going to ask you about that.
I love that because, again, if a state has a little bit of deep pocket and can have the processing facilities, build a small airstrip and tell Benue State, look, you just do it. Okay, I will lift it from your zone. And this will help a little cut off some of this issue with what you call the bandits and whatsoever. Because the farmers produce every day, but somebody's there, nobody's there to move it within the next 30 minutes or 1 hour out of there. Okay, and move it to the next location within Nigeria by air, very two small aircraft like you see in the Colombian jungles and DR Congo, in Mexico, whatever. And you just land and take off on a very rusty whatever. The bags or whatever are there, and then you move it to the factory. That will help. Then we can secure those little airstrips with soldiers, with security men, right? That is also spending money in security fund to support agriculture, agro-processing, agro-allied industries. Providing funds, billions of naira, is not enough to buy aircraft to bomb out the insurgents or the bandits. That's not enough. We need to feed the good people as well. So as long as we are taking justice to the criminal elements who are hiding in the jungles, kidnapping, banditry, we also need to take food, put food on the table of those of us who are striving day and night. 100 million Nigerians, men, women who are suffering every day, try to do what is right and not going into criminal enterprise. So the government has a dual responsibility here. It's not enough to buy the kind of fancy aircraft that can pump bullets, whatever, into the bandits. Can those of us who are doing well, you and I, hardworking Nigerians and many millions out there, be provided food and affordable prices? Because the criminal elements who are kidnapping people for ransom on one hand, you have this kind of protests happening in Kano, in Niger State, and others. A lot of people are just hunger for just their simple daily bread. So the government needs to put on its thinking cap. So that call Agriculture should be done at the local and state government levels. It's not much of a federal government issue. Yes, the government will lead from the front at the federal level, but until the 36 state governors sees that it's not so fanciful and meaningful to the people to build fanciful places of worship that looks like whatever, a jet plane, and fanciful sporting arena and airlines than providing food. They need to put, and when you do agriculture, like housing and construction, you're creating jobs that you've never seen anywhere else. Look at how the farmers' issue in France is keeping President Macron.
And that's the one that the EU president, European Commission president, recommending that they drop a plan to cut pesticide use, in agriculture as a concession to protesting European farmers. I would just like you to touch on that briefly.
You find out that, look, you need to fix, when you fix agriculture, you can't imagine the value chain. You see this fabric for these clothing and what have you, from agriculture. You got biofuel from agriculture, right? Which you can use for energy and what have you. Cow dungs, ethanol from cassava and what have you. Then you can get starch. Then you can get a whole lot of other things down the value chain. Then you use the bamboos for chopsticks, for toothpicks and a lot of other things. Okay, you can use bamboos to make some parts of bicycle, a lot of other things. So agriculture is at the heart of everything else. So until we see the state government see this, and if it's possible, Mr. President, should please appeal to state government. Can we do a little bit less of building aircraft and building airports and what have you, and create jobs for the people? How many people in a state, in a particular state, will you employ in a state government's airports? Maybe 50. Maybe 100, far less than that. Is it impactful on the millions of people in that state? No, it's not. But these people are trudging every day to do farming, fishery, agriculture, aquaculture, whatever it is, and they're not getting their produce to the market. So their daily living hardly makes life very worth living for them. So you have agro-processing zones, which the EFDB and others are helping us to set up and promote, would offtake those things from those farmers, give their lives some measure of living, put some money in their pockets, okay? Allow them to have some sense of livelihood. And they can also see their hard work being used. If you're a farmer and you have tomato and you have 50 bags or 100 baskets, and because of the heat and nobody's taking it from you, 10 or 20 or 30 out of that goes to waste. Look, you are not going to feel so enthused the next day to go back to the market. The beauty of a farmer, even as agrarian and as basic as it is at the basic level of farming, is to see that your products get to the market, someone purchases it, not that it gets spoiled. But these farmers are not getting those benefits. So we can achieve a whole lot if the state governors could please use this to tackle food inflation. The level of imported inflation, food inflation in Nigeria is extremely high. And we have this arable land. So I love the way this is being done. It's not every part of Nigeria where you still cannot work in daylight or in the night today. Look, there are bandits everywhere, but we can still make good use of those lands that are not occupied yet by these bandits. And by the way, despite the bandits, millions of Nigerians still wake up every day and go to farm and do agriculture. They're putting their lives at risk. We need to support them, okay, through these agro-processing zones. We need to show them that we care at the government level. And the way to do that is to say, we're going to be an off-taker for your cassava, off-takers for your maize, for your maize, for your rice, for your millet, for your sorghum in the north and elsewhere. Look, I went to this flour mills factory in Maiduguri during Shetima when he was the governor, now because the vice president, and I saw about 5 production lines that used to produce wheat and all of that. I mean, they were just doing maize, and this was just like 6, 7, 8 years ago. And I was heartbroken. And because, again, this company that should be doing like 400, 800 staff were doing just about 100 or so. But they were just able to do corn. Although they had an issue with the Chad region and the whole climate change. But again, we've got this factories that are set up 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, all wasting away. The whole southeast, the southwest, every part of Nigeria virtually. So food inflation can be tackled if we allow our charity to begin at home. People are producing yam. People are still producing food every day. If you drive across Nigeria, Folks are doing farming every day. But we need this second layer of agro-industrialization. That will help create more jobs. Keep more of our youth or those who are still willing to do so to stay close to agricultural farms and what have you. Okay? And then those of us who are in the cities can then know that we can buy some of these agro products and have healthy food that we produce locally and that stay close to production from the farm, from the supermarkets, wherever the stores we are buying them, even from the common market, than we had right now. You look at a tuber of yam for 2,000, 3,000 in Nigeria. It's just simply, even as simple as Ofada rice in Ogun State, here as close to Lagos, it's just astronomically unbelievable. Again, why do we sit some in the middle of such? President Obasanjo raised the curtain on Ofada rice production all over again when he was in office, and it was fanciful, and people started producing. Today, I'm not too sure if we are ramping up so much on that. You have the Igbeme rice in Ondo State all the way to the northern part of Ekiti State. That rice is there. How much has any Ekiti State governor done to get the Igbeme rice, which was popular, very good, nutritious, back on everybody's menu table? We can do so much. So the Kebbi rice, the tea from the Taraba State, the best Highland teas I've ever tasted, is so much, whether it's the green tea or the normal one. So we've got a whole breakfast, lunch, or dinner provided for us by nature, divinely provided. So why can't we just move from the basic level to the next level? Why are we all focused about building some very fancy airports and aircraft, owning an airline and celebrating those things when we could just put our youth, even the adults who are still on the farm, to work? So I think this process should go down to local governments, the AFDB deal. It shouldn't be an Abuja-based thing. It should be done all the way down to the man on the field, the farmers, those who are the off-takers, those who are doing transports between villages and small towns and hamlets, those who are going to be doing industrial production at a very small cottage level. The whole 50-something billion naira that Vice President Shetima is launching in the north for the northern corridor should include something like this to resettle people who have been whose villages and towns have been cleared from the insurgents, to get them to become meaningfully engaged all over again. The more we do that very quickly, the more the unrest and the pains of these bigger economic reforms, fuel subsidy, naira convergence, whatever, will begin to be positively impactful on people, and the pains will be far less. The more you delay such day-to-day and basic things being done, the more the impact of the good reforms will be on people. So we needed those reforms, and everybody agreed. But you need to give people something very quickly. You need to put something in their mouth very quickly to tell them that, look, this journey is going to be long, but for now, this is what we're giving you to hold on to. And agriculture is next to nature for every Nigerian, no matter how fanciful you are in the city. We all have this relationship. We are all from the hinterlands, in the manner of speaking. So let's get back home to basics.
Well, and hopefully, if we get this level right.
No, they don't ask me if I'm going to be a farmer.
Futuristically speaking, we can also be looking at exporting some of those products.
Oh yes. Of course. What do you do? We do. We can do.
Business anchor, Boason Omofaye. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Now you're getting me hungry with this conversation.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Thank you so much. Let's have it.